Hello and welcome to the Happy Little Futures podcast. As always, let's begin with a lovely big deep breath into your stomach and out through your mouth. Fantastic. So I thought I'd talk today a little bit about burnout. I have found myself over the past few months going, I just feel so burnt out. I just feel so burnt out. And a few weeks ago I was like, what does that even mean? So I thought I'd look it up and find out a little bit about what definitions there are out there for burnout, and also about sort of different signs, symptoms, and things like that. On a personal level, things that have caused me to say that I feel burnt out is stress. Stress around trying to get sort of my ducks in a row for certain things with work, trying to sort out things for the kids, money stress, all the normal life stresses. But it's been persistent for, where are we, June, 6 months. 6 months now, it's been persistent. And so it's been going on for a long time, and I've been starting to feel more fatigued, more exhausted, physically aching a lot more anxious. I've had to really draw on all those core skills that I've been working on for years now, to try and develop ways in which that's going to have a big impact in a short amount of time. Because on top of that, I've also been feeling like I don't have much time for myself. I don't have much time to not be doing work. I need to be working all the time, and obviously that's not productive. I feel very lucky in the fact that I have been recognising these things all along. Not to say every single day, but there are definite moments that I struggle. But more often than not, I can recognise that actually, no, I'm feeling this, like I'm feeling like I need to be working all the time, which actually probably means that what I need to do is step back for half an hour to an hour, or make a day where I'm not working and I take a break, and purposefully create that break in order to recuperate so that I work more productively when I am working. So for me, that's a quick introduction on how I've been describing and noticing symptoms of burnout. However, when I've looked it up, there are a variety of definitions of burnout. The main one is something along the lines of burnout is a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. So not just sort of like feeling physically tired and worn out, but just as much feeling emotionally like you've not got anything left to give, or sort of you're just overwhelmed with anxiety or stress or depression. So the physical and emotional exhaustion, and it's generally come on from long-term stress, from persistent stress in your life, whether it's to do with work, whether it's to do with family life, money, relationships, anything. That is what burnout is. It's generally a state of physical and emotional exhaustion from long-term stress. So symptoms that I've found, there's lots of different symptoms out there, and as I've said, it's generally it depends on the person, doesn't it, as to what symptoms you're going to experience. I might experience anxiety, but as we've discussed previously, I'm very prone to anxiety. Someone else might be more prone to depression. Someone else might just feel really disconnected from everything else, their values, what's important to them. So the main ones that I found anyway when I was researching were exhaustion, dreading work, a lack of emotional response, feeling disconnected from work. I've also added in, when I've written that down, and yourself. Physical changes in your body. It might be that you're experiencing more pain, more tension, strained into personal relationships, either at work or at home, neglected self-care, stress and anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, lack of concentration. So just to name a few, really. The list is pretty endless. And generally speaking, it's like when I was reading through, I was like, this is just most most negative feelings that you can feel as just day-to-day normal life, really. But it's sort of persistent. And when I was looking up what people recommend to do, there was one description that was something along the lines of, in order to reduce burnout, get rid of the thing that's making you stressed. That's not always possible, which is why I felt I was sort of like feeling a bit drawn to actually this subject. I thought that was quite a patronising almost way of putting it. So other things that people have said that aren't quite so patronising are reduce workload, maybe sharing your workload, setting rules for yourself, such as when to switch off, when to put your phone down and stuff like that. Developing coping skills, whether it might be going swimming, or it might be meditating. I don't know why I was struggling to think of that one. It might be meditating or colouring, crafting, sort of things like that, going for a walk. Other things are things like that you can do with things like sort of connecting to your values and resting and recovering. Again, that's obvious, but it's not that easy. And many other things. And I thought, as I was reading through all of this, I thought these were great pieces of advice. However, from personal experience, when you're feeling burnt out, you don't feel that you've got that time. I mean, one of the key things that stood out as a symptom is lack of self-care, neglected self-care. And that's because you're feeling like you need to be working all the time, because you're constantly kind of in fight or flight, I suppose, really. So when I've sort of gone through it, I've gone, actually, what can we do? How does I've already said that for me, what I've been doing is trying to sort of draw on those skills that I've learned over the years with meditation and mindfulness and pull them in a lot easier, a lot more frequently, really trying to tell myself no when I want to do work, really setting boundaries with myself. And it's not easy. It's not easy to tell yourself, nope, now is rest time. But you have to. And I've found myself more and more over the weekends turning to my husband and going, look, at the start of the year, we discussed the fact that we were going to make a point of having the weekend as days for ourselves, where we model rest, where we model that sort of stopping and following your interests behaviour. And I think he's struggling as much as I am with the stress and all of that. And so we've been sort of trying to reconnect to those core whys, I suppose. Why do we want to model this rest and recuperate behaviour? Why do we want to model doing our own hobbies? Why do we want to model what's important to us? And I suppose, in a way, it's so that when our kids are struggling in future, they can see that actually, no, it's okay to stop. It's okay to rely on our interests to help support us through, and that self-care is a good thing. And it's a very difficult thing to do, having been brought up. I'm increasingly seeing things actually about millennials, which I've recently discovered I'm one. I had no idea what a millennial was or anything. But I think it also applies to a lot of other generations. But seeing things about the fact that we've sort of been subconsciously raised to think that we have to work, and if we're not working, we're not achieving, and therefore we're failing. And I think that's quite an interesting thing to comprehend, but also speaking to other friends and stuff like that, I think that is just sort of a general feeling, especially when the economy's gone funny, and that's about my knowledge of money there. The economy has gone funny, and we're all struggling to make ends meet. We're all struggling to do the things that we used to love and things like that. So it's quite an interesting thing to sort of have to then retrain ourselves to stop, retrain ourselves to rest, retrain ourselves to recognize that actually we're burning out, and the way to fix that, for want of a better word, is to rest, is to recoup, is to connect with our core values, is to really knuckle down and give ourselves some self-care. So how do we do that when we're not used to doing it? I feel, like I said at the start, I feel very lucky that I've got this grounding already in sort of nurturing myself, sort of caring for myself, being able to recognize my feelings, my emotions, and when I'm struggling, and knowing what I need in that moment to help support myself through it. However, if you're not used to that, it's a very overwhelming prospect that in order to conquer burnout. Conquer is a very strong word. It might be there for years, who knows? And that's okay if it's there for years. I mean, it's not on a physical level, an emotional level, but if that's how you're feeling for years, that's fine. It's then learning to manage and reduce those symptoms. So if you are feeling like that and you don't have these strategies in place, it feels like actually you're adding to your workload. I know this because looking back, I've definitely been in this place. So it feels like you're adding to your workload. Like you've got to create another habit. Like you've got to create something new that's going to help you. But how on earth are you ever going to find the time to do that when you're constantly working and you have no choice but to work? You have no choice but to do these things that are stressing you out and keep putting out fire with fire, because it's never ending and it feels never ending. And the way to do that is to start small. Because if we don't start small, then chucking in some instances, something that is a 10-minute meditation, which, I mean, when I started meditating years ago, I was like, 10 minutes, that's a long time. How am I ever going to make time for that? Now I realise actually 10 minutes is a short meditation. But it's all about perspective, isn't it? Fitting that 10 minutes into a busy schedule, whether it's 10 minutes cardio, whether it's 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes of reading book, anything like that. If you're feeling busy, if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling stressed, then that is a very difficult thing to do. So I'm going to quickly, before I carry on, I'm going to quickly thank our sponsor for this podcast, who is Rowan Fox. And if you didn't hear last week, Rowan Fox is a sustainable clothing brand for kids who love animals and adults and who care about the planet. And you can explore the beautiful collection of wildlife-inspired organic t-shirts and hoodies at rowanfox.com. So thank you very much to Pamela for that. So if you're sitting there feeling like you're overwhelmed, like how am I ever going to fit in that 10 minutes? 10 minutes is too long. Break it down. Break it down. Let's break it down. What is achievable? 10 seconds. How can I get in 10 seconds of cardio? Jump. Just run from one side of the room to the other on your way to the kettle. You might feel ridiculous. You might feel silly, but just do it. Just do it and see how it feels. And if nothing else, you might laugh at the ridiculousness. If you want to learn to meditate, how do you fit in that 10 minutes? You start with 10 seconds. You start with one single breath. Take that deep breath. Move on following that with whatever you were doing in the moment. Just reconnect with that breath in that moment. You want to read a book? That might not be possible. But you know what? What is possible is taking 10 seconds to move that book from somewhere where you can't see it to somewhere where you can. So that the next moment that you feel, actually, I do have time to read the first sentence of this chapter, you can pick up that book. That book is a reminder of the self-care and the self-love that you want to give yourself. It's something that, yes, it might feel frustrating and you might sit there for a few days even going, well, I don't have time to read the book. But you don't have to read the whole book. pick it up. Just pick it up. Connect with those pages. Connect with that book, that bit of self-care, that peace that it's offering you inside. Just connect with it. Flick the pages, smell the book, put it down again. Just connect with it for 10 seconds and start small. It doesn't have to be a challenging thing to help you reduce burnout, to help you reduce stress, to increase that self-care, to increase that connection to your values, to increase that connection to yourself. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour at the gym. It can just be as simple as a few seconds for yourself, for your family. If you keep trudging on through burnout, the more you do that, the more you're going to burn out. If you stop and just take a moment, even if it's as simple as just stopping, not even doing anything, you just stop in the middle of the room as you're rushing around, you notice that actually you haven't stopped in months and you feel like your head's going to explode and your body's about to drop off and fall into pieces. And you just stop in the centre of the room and just go, I can stop. And then you move on. I'm allowed to stop. I allow myself to stop. Just allow yourself to stop. The more you keep doing those little things, those little changes, the more easily they will integrate into your day, the more they begin to blossom into a beautiful flower that offers you peace and joy throughout your day. It's as simple as planting a seed. You can't grow a tree without planting the seed. And planting the seed is such a simple act. In many cases, the seed simply drops off the tree, and it's as simple as the wind blowing a few leaves over it to keep it warm. And that simple act of just that light covering, the rain just hammering around it into the ground, those little actions initially are what help it to blossom and grow into a big, strong, branched out, beautiful green tree. Plant that seed, that few seconds, whatever it is, whether it's a breath, whether it's a silly run to the kettle, whether it's touching your toes because you want to do yoga and start building that into your day, whether it's telling yourself, I allow myself to stop, whether it's moving that book, moving that crochet hook, that piece of wool into reach, so that if you do get a chance to sit down, you can sit down and draw upon that thing that will give you that moment of peace, give you that moment to yourself. Just have a go. Over the next week, you should see, hopefully, a masterclass meditation for parents and teachers and for a busy life come up. So that will be a coaching package with a 10-minute meditation, should you wish to use it, but with also a brief coaching session beforehand on how you can use it. You can just listen to the coaching session. You don't even have to use the meditation. That's going to come into the shop over the next few days over on happylittlefutures.co.uk. And also, if you head to the Happy Little Futures Hub on Facebook, then you'll be able to start to find some more little tidbits coming in. Whenever I put a post up on social media, more often than not, I will post it in there, but I will add in some extra little bits for you to learn from, extra little steps that you can take to actually make this benefit you more. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you are in Birmingham, and I don't think I've told you this yet actually, I am now a qualified sound meditation teacher, so I'm going to be running some family sound baths over the summer, and I'm also going to be, I'm now running sound baths in Birmingham. So if you are local to Birmingham, if you want to try out a sound bath, if you head to bestillwithlucy.co.uk or Be Still with Lucy on Facebook and Instagram, and I will put a link into the website for that as well, then I am running sound baths for sort of late teens through to adults on there as well. So keep your eyes peeled for family sound baths through Happy Little Futures. Keep your eyes peeled for sound baths for anyone on Be Still with Lucy. And take that moment for yourself, that few seconds this week. Just take it as often as you can, as often as you remember. If you don't remember and you suddenly realise, oh, I haven't done that for ages, do it there and then. Stop. I allow myself to stop. Try it out with different things. Try out different techniques, different skills. See what works for you and see what you actually want from your life, what actually your core values are. Are they to just stop and be still with your family? Is it that you just need to reconnect with your kids and take a moment to look at them and put your phone in a different room? Or is it that you want to go and run that marathon next year, but it starts with a meter sprint to the kettle? Take that time, reconnect with yourself, and we will begin your week of reconnection with this deep breath to finish us off today. So we'll take a deep breath in and release. Fantastic. And let me know how it goes, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.